Maniuk, everybody. That means be well and live in balance in the language of my ancestors and my people in Massachusetts, the Wampanoag Nation. I am glad that Max said a lot of the things I was going to say because I really wanted to go to the next level, Many of the things he said are descriptions of what I call the symptoms of a greater disease. The Fukushima disaster is bad enough. I mean, they need to get help. They're in denial that they can fix that problem themselves, just like all of the nuclear reactor and power advocates and danger deniers are trying to downplay that, and that if one false move with removing those rods can trigger nuclear fission and in the air contamination, explosions, 14,000 times more radiation than Hiroshima and Nagasaki, besides all that's happened in the oceans right now. And you forgot to mention the starfish, but that's okay. There's only so much we can say to describe all these symptoms of the deeper disease. What is the deeper disease? It's an unsustainable way of seeing the world. We look at unsustainability of all kinds in the way the earth is being destroyed. It has been with the beginning of this wide-scale industrialism for 200 years plus. This has been in the works. And all of the unsustainable activities over 200 years, dumping waste into the rivers one after another, leading to what we have now, the resource extraction at unprecedented levels. All of that is the result of a way of seeing the world that I call an unsustainable way of seeing the world. And not myself, but many others. We have, and I was going to read this, but Max already said a lot of the symptoms described by a council of elders and medicine people. You can see that linked on the Idle No More and other websites. They're saying, unsustainable, my friends, means you cannot keep doing what you are doing. It will end in death. And we can talk about one unsustainable practice after another, but we need to get to the roots of this. It's a way of seeing the world. Seeing the world is nothing but a collection of commodities for a market economy, a competitive economy where everybody is at each other's throats trying to get the best of one another, with some regulations, of course, thanks to the demands of human rights and other activists, environmental activists, all going back to the abolitionist movement. This industrialism was built on the profits generated by slavery and land stealing. That was at the foundation of it. And it was justified in the minds of those that did it because they thought there is nothing wrong with every man for himself, unlimited accumulation of profits, way of life and way of seeing the world. Our people, our ancestors, have always known that there's something else, that we're not disconnected entities, each in a struggle for our own self-existence. And yes, that we are all one, and that we're not just one with our species, but all of those who were birthed from this common mother, the earth. We're one with them all. We all need each other. When you take one of the gifts from the earth, we and our ancestors, our people, and I say indigenous people worldwide too, the ancestors of the people in Europe who were indigenous, and they probably lived in this way too, and knew the medicines of their lands, and the ways to receive the gifts from the earth. And when you take, you ask the mother, you ask what is the time, and the Council of Elders that published that proclamation that I keep taking out of my pocket, but I'm not going to read from. They say, and the way they say it is that we've left the original instructions. When the first people and the humans were put on the earth, they weren't put on the earth to randomly go about grabbing and digging and taking, but they were, so this is the season you get. So you receive it not just for yourself. There's other species that eat those berries too. You don't only think of the human needs. One of the greatest misconceptions that people have about native cultures that I try to correct in my lectures is, oh, the Indians only took what they needed. It was not only the needs of the people, the human people, but the other people too. In a dry year, a lean year, you would go out and take a little less of that because you knew that the other species, the other people needed that too. They knew that because they followed the instructions. And I'm not here to preach indigenous religion or anything like that to everybody, but I'm saying, please let us all consider and get together and talk about another way of being that would keep these kind of symptomatic behaviors and the accompanying destruction from reoccurring. We're in an endless cycle of putting Band-Aids on symptoms instead of attacking the disease. I hope you understand what that means. It's kind of dangerous to talk in public, especially at your place of employment, about fundamental systemic change. And that's what I came here to talk about. And Max cut me off at any time. I have no sense of time. All of this can be discussed later too, but I think at this time of crisis, and to take it a little far, besides the climate change that has already been upon us, what's called self-reinforcing systemic climate changing loops have already been set in motion that have increased the rate of global warming. That's a better term than climate change. Climate change sounds a little too polite to me. It's too moderate. We're in a climate disaster. For example, the warming that's already occurred due to people not living by these instructions and just doing whatever they want to the earth for 200 years, amplified in the last 50 to 100 years, has created methane leaks in the Arctic and probably soon the Antarctic too, because both poles are melting at an unprecedented rate, releasing things that have been kept underground that were meant to be there, covered by ice. That's warming the earth even more. That's the indirect result from what we've already done. The warming of the poles has changed the weather patterns, and you've probably heard this already, but recently I also heard that the jet stream flows themselves. We typically get a west to east one with some deviation seasonally, occasionally. Our weather mostly comes from the Pacific. Well, it's just been coming from everywhere, all four directions. If you look at the graphs, the satellites, I have a strange habit of looking at the weather satellites every day, partly because I'm an organic farmer, but I have to know what time of day I do best outside. And okay, I'm going Okay, what I meant, I'm kind of entertaining too. All right, even when I'm not trying to be. But at this point, the Band-Aid cures that we've been engaging in, stop Keystone, stop the tar sands, all of that, that's essential, but might not be enough. We might have to take another look at our way of life, at the economic system, at systems that grant unparalleled power to people with the most of this thing called currency, dollars. We need to be free of that. How can you be free of that? You have your own connection to the wealth of the Mother Earth. Those of you who have lands, those of you who have ranches, maybe sell off some of your cattle and start growing food. Don't spray that stuff on the ground that you think is just killing the weeds. It's killing everybody. And those plants that some of you call weeds are medicine. Talk to your elders and talk to people who know the medicines of this earth and cultivate them. Let them create spaces where they can expand and grow, because there might be a time coming when you don't have the currency anymore, the false wealth called money that our ancestors didn't live with. One of the great myths is that our tribe, the Wampanoag people's wampum beads were the Indian money. False, false, false. Please don't say that to me. It was exchanged, but not as a number and trying to get the best of each other. In friendly trade, in a world of plenty where you didn't really need your neighboring tribe stuff, but it's a good way to keep balance between each other and enhance your material life. Not money, but gifts. And everybody was trying to outgive each other in the old days when they traded. They weren't trying to get the best of each other. There's so much to talk about, and I appreciate your patience. I'd like to close saying that this is not the end of a wonderful conversation today. Thank you all for being here today, but let's keep talking and doing. Let's talk about creating a different world. We don't know what's possible. We haven't tried it yet. People will tell you, oh, it's impossible. The system's too big. We can't live without money. Nobody's ever done that before. Oh, yes, they did. For thousands and thousands of years in a world of plenty. So we might have to split up and move to other parts of the world so we don't have unsustainable communities that are too big. Did I just talk for an hour? No, okay. I need to turn this over to whoever is next, but please, let's continue, keep talking. Don't wait for leaders to start it. Don't wait for leaders. Get together in your homes, start finding sustainable ways to live, and be ready for anything, like a new world. Thank you very much.